Hi everybody, this is Rick from Studio Spades. It's been a while, but I wanted to show a brand new tool that I've been developing in Blender geometry nodes, and hopefully it will make it a lot easier for you to make exploded views of objects. I will demonstrate in a minute what exploded views are if you don't know what it is. And I will go through the tool that I made, and I hope you like it. Alright, so first off, this tool is available on my website. When you download it, you can just append the project. So right now I will navigate to my Blender project for it. Give me just a second. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. Exploded view. Alright, this is my latest project version. Okay, so you can append the project, just append it by going to collection and selecting all the collections you see here. That should help importing everything in the correct manner. Oh, let me just delete some other collections that were in my Blender project. They were not part of the file. Okay, so when you import them, you get all these collections and a cube which has a geometry nodes setup applied to it, which I made with some custom nodes. Okay, so before I dive into this, let me just quickly show what this tool does, because I bet you're quite curious to see what it does. So let's, for example, just find a cool model on my hard drive. In my 3D models folder, I'll navigate to my previous purchases. Generic sports sedan. I really like that model. Purchased it on TurboSquid. Okay, so let me just check. Maybe apply transform. You don't really need to do everything I'm doing right now, but just import a model you like, and it works. This tool works best with a lot of meshes. So import. All right, so we imported a mesh. It's imported in an empty with a lot of meshes in that empty and a couple of empties in there. Since it explodes the vector position, you always want to make sure it has a location. If this is set to 0, 0, 0, and you multiply the vector position, multiplying by 0 results in 0, so that won't work. Also, I don't like empties for this tool, so I delete the empties. But I just want to make sure I apply everything. So select all the objects, press Ctrl A, all transforms. Just to be sure that everything gets reset. Sometimes you buy a model and yeah, some information might be off here. You just want to make sure that the scale is set to 1, rotation to 0, location to 0, because we're going to delete the empties. I don't like empties because I want every mesh to be exploded individually, and you see here wheel has a couple of sub meshes, but I want those to explode individually, and if I leave it in empty, it will just explode the wheel, which I don't like. So delete all the empties in the scene, which takes out all the separate parts that were in the empty, and now everything is a mesh. You don't need to do this, but I like to do it. Alright, so that creates a new problem. Since it multiplies the position, we need to make sure that the origin point is in the center of the mesh. But you see some origin points floating here. So to fix that, go to set origin, origin to geometry, and now we're done. these are all the steps we have to do. So put it in a layer and turn the view off. So we just have the geometry nodes tool. All right, this is where the magic happens, as they say. So select the geometry nodes tools, go to the modifier window and just slide explode, which, like I said, it multiplies the vector position of objects. So everything that is on the x-axis in this case, compared to the world origin, it multiplies that position. So objects farther away from the world origin get pushed farther away faster than the steering wheel, for example here. The wheels are moving faster. So that creates that explode effect, exploded view effect. But we are not limited to the x-axis. We can also use the y-axis and also explode in that direction, or the z or z-axis. And you can always animate this as well. It's pretty lightweight. It uses instancing. So unless your model has like 500 gazillion polygons, this tool should work quite fast. Let me just move this a bit down. And yeah, that is in a nutshell what this tool does. Now, it does a lot more than this, of course, because I want it to be, well, A, very easy to use, but also quite modifiable, if that's a word. I want people to make it their own and really go all out with this tool. So I created some extra functions. You can multiply the effect in the X, Y, and Z axis. So right now it's set to 0.1. If I set it to 1, things on the x-axis will get multiplied even faster. So you don't have to slide as much. Or you can lower the number, of course. You can also offset the entire mesh in all axes. You can do a material override, since exploded views can be quite popular for X-ray renders or wireframe renders. Yeah, you can just use a material override and put a single material on this thing in its entirety, because right now it has the default texture that comes with the model, which is very nice. But sometimes you might want to override it. Okay, you can rotate individual instances in all 3 axes, of course. Very cool. You can rotate the entire object in all 3. Boom. And everything can all, of course, be animated. You can scale the meshes. Might not always work, but hey, could be a cool effect. Let me just reset some things. And you can uniform scale. So everything will scale evenly. All right. Now we're going into the backface culling. I added a simple backface culling to this because the next function after that, split faces, is quite CPU heavy. So I added some backface culling that works with the camera. So just add a camera to your scene. Camera, 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 where are you? Let me press 0. All right, that's Oh, sorry. And go back to the tool and select camera. And you should see some things move or get deleted based on the fact if they are, wait. That's weird. Right. Okay, sorry. Okay, so everything that's in front should stay, but we see the things that are behind the mesh and facing away from the camera. Something should be deleted, but it's generally objects that are facing away from the camera, so it's not ideal, but it could save you some render time, especially when you're using the next function, which is split faces, which is quite CPU heavy, but it's also really cool. So yeah, you might want to use it, but as you can see, it already starts slowing down the viewport, which is not ideal. So the backface culling might help you with some render time, but it definitely won't speed up your viewport view. So only use this if you have a really powerful computer, or you really want to make crazy stuff like this. If I turn off the backface culling now, it should be symmetrical. So what the split faces does is basically explodes individual faces as well, and you can combine it with the explode XYZ, which explodes the instances, all the meshes. So we have 121 meshes which get exploded with explode XYZ, but split faces on top of that explodes all the faces. You can already see some polygons move right here from their original position because I set it to 0.1. If I set it to 0, we're back at the original model. Cool. Set it to 5, and it multiplies the position of every individual face in the x-axis. So it kind of does the same thing as explode XYZ, but not with faces, not with instances, but with faces. Can be a cool effect. It's a ridiculous effect, I know that, but it can be really cool, especially when you animate it. It can really make your meshes look very digital. It might work very well with holograms and that kind of stuff. But again, CPU heavy, might even be GPU heavy, I don't know. Just make sure you don't blow up your PC with this one. 15 in the Z axis or Z. Boom, really weird, but really cool. Could be your thing if you want it, but you don't need to use that function. You can always keep it to the original explode functions, which is A, faster, and B, looks cool as well. Right, so that's that. And finally, we are at the layers, which basically do the same thing as explode XYZ in all directions, but with one caveat. You can choose the axis here by checking one of the boxes, and you can split your meshes between layers. So right now we have 121 in layer 1. So let's select a couple and move them to layer 2. Cool. And select a couple more and move those to layer 3, just for example's sake. Alright, so we have 3 layers filled with a couple of meshes from the car. And this basically gives you more control. That's it. Right now I only have rotation, add, which is the offset, and explode and a multiply for the effect, but I'm working on more functions. But basically this does the same thing, only split in layers. So right now it's only moving layer 1, and you can choose which collection gets used. So if you import a collection later on with different models in it, just select it here, or in one of the other layers, and make sure you select an axis. So if nothing gets checked, it won't work, but if you select X, it'll explode the same way in the X-axis, but again, only for the models that are in layer 1, in this case, in the layer 1 collection. So we'll go to layer 2, maybe explode that in a Z-axis, upward. Boom. So one goes up, one goes sideways, and the final one, layer 3, will do that in a Y direction, which will go forward and backward. So it gives you more control. That's it. You can animate everything separately. You can multiply the effect as well. You can add or subtract, which is pretty cool. And offset everything, rotate it. This is a rotate instances. I'm working on adding a rotate all in the layer, just like this function, but per layer. So that's coming. But right now, everything you see here in this tool is available in the tool that's on my website. So you can head over there if you want and get it there. I'll make sure to put a YouTube comment underneath this video with a link, if YouTube allows me to link. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Start playing around with it. I hope you learn something from it. And yeah, you don't need geometry nodes knowledge to use it, like I've been demonstrating here. There's quite a lot of options in the modifier window, but I try to work neatly in geometry nodes itself. Try to keep it organized for myself. So if you want to dive in, you can always do that. Yeah, I made some custom nodes with custom nodes. So that you can always expand on it yourself. But yeah, I'm definitely working on improving this tool because I want to use it myself. I have been using it myself for a client project recently. They wanted me to make an exploded view of something with thousands of meshes. And I thought, yeah, I'm not going to animate that by hand. So I made this tool. And now it's available for you. So I hope you enjoy it. This was Rick from Studio Space, and I hope to catch you sometime soon. See you later.